anything that y'all need. All right, well, type into the chat or come off mute in a bit. I'm going to get us going here. So this is Career Lab Wednesday. Welcome, everybody. Thank you, Jane. We are live here on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So there's a few ways that you can engage with us. You can listen in. That's great. If you want to ask a question, you can join in the Zoom link. I encourage that. I love talking with you and supporting you in what you're working on. It's a lot of fun for me. So go ahead and join in if you're able to. If you're not able to and you've got a question, then type your question into the comment section and Jane will get that over to me. I'll do my best to answer your questions through that communication form. So today, I really like today's topic about emotions are the data that you need. Because I don't know, I think I've held emotions as something that aren't data and aren't that are kind of this nebulous thing that don't really make sense. But in a lot of research over the years, what is emerging is that our emotions are incredibly important, very much needed data points for how to interact with others. So that's the topic for today. Welcome, Lucky. Hey, good to have you here. Welcome, welcome. And there's a few ways that you can engage. You can come off mute and ask a question, or you can type into the comments section. Either one works fine for me. I would love to answer any questions about your career. It doesn't have to be about the topic of emotional intelligence and how that fits into your career. It can be anything from a resume, support with your resume, support with interviewing. I'll always make it about emotional intelligence because that's my specialty. But your questions don't have to have anything to do with the topic. I would love to support you in any way I can. So, Vern, I would love to get an update from you. As I recall, you. Oh, Vern, I'm going to put you on mute until you're able to come off and share with us and share how that went.
George, here,
yes.
Just getting around to getting it for the city over there in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Uh-huh.
And it was very good. And they're going to get back to me in about a week from now. I genuinely appreciate your advice the other day that we talked about online.
What,
and if there's any resume and the things that in many ways, should we say, think that they're understandable by most people, but they're not. And the environmental impact statement as well. You remember that? I mentioned that environmental due diligence is oftentimes preceding construction, preceding planning. However, what I had done, unfortunately, in the resume was to delineate some of the things that are achievements that strangely don't make sense to people. EIS, for instance, just, obviously it stands for more than one thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a lot of other buzzwords associated with what I do, what you maybe do, APA. It has a double meaning as well. American Planning Association and American Psychological Association. That's an example of the acronyms that have more than one meaning to them. And I call it EAW. EAW, that's got another name or as well. But in any event, I've since cleaned up a lot of my pieces, and I do have the correct email for you now over there at your workplace. So I'll pass to you that as well.
Please do. And this goes for everybody listening in too. You're welcome to set up a 15-minute call with me where I can, if you've got questions or are working on something that you don't want to be sharing live. Now, Vern is comfortable sharing this live, but I just want everybody else to know that you're welcome to set up a time with me. And Vern, that goes for you as well. If you want to meet one-to-one, that's great. But anyway, continue. I'm so happy that you are cleaning up your resume isn't quite the right way to put it, but putting it into language that is showing that you take initiative and get results. I am so happy to hear that you are doing that, and it seems like you are starting to get results from doing that. Is that, oh, Vern, sorry, I cut you off, and I meant to, but I didn't mean for you to stop talking.
No problem at all.
Okay.
Oftentimes there's things that in the specialty that you're in, oftentimes there's buzzwords associated with what you do that in many ways are unknown to a lot of others as well. It is.
So Vern, what I'm going to translate quickly. If you are shifting in industries or going into a space that maybe you wouldn't understand the buzzwords, that's something that you need to be aware of so that you can translate in your resume and make it more of a high level, so that people would be able to look at it and say, oh, okay, this guy is in, or this person is in the right space, and I'm going to put this resume into the callback pile. Is that what I'm hearing, Vern? Oh, okay. Well, Vern,
oftentimes I use it, I consider a user of a place preceding the design and development of it. And at the same time, I'm kind of embarrassed by the fact that oftentimes I've not considered that when I'm doing this. And what I'm trying to say is that oftentimes the people that read the resume are not the people that are the hiring persons. They are oftentimes recruiters. Oftentimes there are other people, HR is well known, and a lot of those people haven't any clue what those things are.
Yep. So for everybody listening in, Vern, I'm gonna catch everybody up on what we were doing. So Vern is an expert, highly specialized, has led on a lot of great projects, and is at a point where, when looking for new opportunities, has been running into a block of not getting callbacks when he's like, I clearly understand this job, and it might even be, I might be too qualified for it, but I still want to have the conversations and have the interviews, to get my foot in the door and learn more. So what we worked on either last week or a couple weeks ago was showing in Vern's resume results. And you can look this up on YouTube. There's a lot of videos on it. PAR or STAR statements. So what's the situation? What's the task that you were assigned? What's the actions that you took? What's the results you got? And I say it as if it's really easy to do. It's a pain in the butt. Getting good STAR or PAR statements is not an easy thing to do. It's often really helpful to work it through with somebody else, work it through with a coach, work it through with somebody who's familiar with resumes. We often don't think about how other people see us. And so
that's jump in a little bit?
Yeah, Blake, welcome.
Thanks.
Good to have you.
So
Blake.
Thanks. I have no problem getting interviews, or I get a lot of attention. But then it just goes like radio silent.
Oh, okay.
Like you're an ideal candidate. I have all the qualities, all the skills, and then it's just like, I don't know if it's my industry that's super competitive or what it is, but then it's just like, so I'm thinking we're going to have an interview later this week. I had somebody reach out to me saying, you'd be perfect for a data product owner at T-Mobile. We need an immediate hire. We're scheduling interviews right now. I'll call you in 5 to 10 minutes. Never heard from her again. That was on Monday.
Really?
Yeah, I've reached out to her twice. Won't respond to my LinkedIn messages. Won't respond to my texts. So it's just like, I don't know. Is anybody else experiencing this?
Ditto.
Yeah, in a different way. This is a lucky. I have a nascent business, a hyperbaric oxygen and the neurofeedback. And when I talk to people, they're incredibly interested. And then it goes away like, the sunshine.
Mhm.
And I'm looking. Yeah, right. You get it. So I'm looking, trying to invent a hook, something to at least give me an excuse to call them back.
Well,
They're calling me
Not
first.
in wait. I don't like the language I use. I'm looking for a hook to call them back or something to catch their thought.
I don't know.
yeah,
I just
Lucky, we'll jump to that in a little bit. Blake,
they
so
come to me. They come to me.
they're coming to you, and
Yeah, the recruiters and
here's my hunch. Is that there's a lot of unknowns happening right now. Getting hired overall is a challenge. I'm hearing more and more that you're lucky if it's a 3-month process. And that that I don't. This applies to, let's just say, the majority of industries. And I think for the level that you're describing, I probably want to find out a little bit more about you and your background. But
I'm a senior product owner in digital technology. So worked across multiple industries, web, mobile, data, everything. And they come to me. It's not uncommon. And then they just like, hey, can you interview this week? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And like, I'll call you in 5 minutes, and I just never hear from them again. I'm just like, I told my friends and family, like, hey, I got this new opportunity. And like, they're like, what's going on with that? And I'm like, nothing. I never heard anything. And so it's kind of like, it's weird.
Well, what do you think's going on?
I just think they're mass messaging people, and then they filled, they've already got 10 candidates already. And
Okay,
like,
so they reached out to
like
many
100 people, and then
they just make a cutoff at a certain point.
right. It's just,
Okay.
it's weird. It's weird.
That very well could be, given the that we're using AI and all these new forms of technology. So I could see that as a possibility.
Right.
So what is it? What would you want? How would you?
I would like it to go like, when I remember when I was younger. I'm 37 now. Like, when I used to leave interviews in my 20s, I would literally write a printed letter, lick it with a stamp, and send it and say thank you. And now it's like, if you don't respond within 24 hours to a LinkedIn message, the job's filled. Or like, it's like it's turning so fast now. So if I'm not sitting in front of my computer all day, like, it doesn't happen. Like, I don't want to sit in front of my computer all day or on my phone all day, like responding to messages. Like,
well, that I don't know, Blake. That may be the price you have to pay if you're wanting to change jobs. Are you interested in hearing something else Eric's raising his hand. He might have some input here.
Yeah, just as it wasn't too long ago I was going through a job search, and I think high level nowadays it's very robotic, for I guess lack of a better term. It's very much don't waste your time with cover letters. Customize your resumes which you can, but generally companies are getting hundreds of applications. They're going to probably filter out a bunch of those via resume word screenings, and then from there go through, probably do initial interviews. And then I would imagine, from what I've gathered from some interviews, is that they probably have like backup candidates where I was maybe like a solid candidate, but they didn't want me to move me forward, but they didn't want to reject me because they wanted to keep me open, per se, until say something. But it's very transactional, and there's not really it's very much I'm trying to think of the right way to describe it, but it's just robotic.
There's no feelings. There's no feelings.
Yeah.
Like there's no like you walk in, you shake somebody's hands and here's the water cooler. You need a glass of water? And like, okay, here's the team, meet the team. We'll sit down in this conference room. It's just like, here's a LinkedIn message. If you don't respond in 24 hours, like you're out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even, thank you emails, I should have said just like 1 or 2 sentences, just because, anymore, it's probably not going to be read. But it's brutal. And case in point, there is a job interview, I worked with the headhunter for, everything was going great. She seemed like I was going to be a really good fit, blah, 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 blah. And then it turns out that they hired somebody that the company itself, who had hired out this headhunter to look for people, had pulled somebody in behind the scenes because they were unemployed and able to start immediately, versus myself and potentially other candidates who would have needed time to relocate. So you just never know what's going on behind the scenes. And unfortunately, it's that, kind of uneven balance of information that you just have to do what you can to overcome, because it's, for the most part, it's really stacked against you, honestly, at least in my opinion.
Eric, thank you for sharing.
I'll
And
stop
Blake,
ranting now.
I'm hearing how frustrating it is. What's it like for you?
Sounds very
Who are you
familiar.
talking to?
Blake,
Okay.
Wait, what's the question?
I was just asking what is it you were describing how frustrating it is?
Well, it's just like
encouraging you to share more about the challenges.
It's like they get your hopes up. So even today there was one which is probably the highest salary I would ever received if I got this. And she has a tight relationship. She's been working with them for 6 months. And she said, you are really the ideal candidate, because like where every other candidate's fallen short, you have all those skills. And then she got back to me today. She said, the client's no longer working with us on this position. I encourage you to work with them directly. Here's the hiring manager's email. So it's like, I'm expecting an interview sometime this week, the initial like touch base. And then it's like, just kidding. It's always like, it just feels like this is great. Like, this is a great like opportunity. You're an ideal candidate. And it always ends up being just kidding.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's really discouraging.
It's frustrating. Yeah, that's how it feels. And then there will be other times where it's like somebody wants to interview 1 or 2 times and like hire me like next week. So, because I'm a consultant, so I kind of jump around a lot. So I do a lot of interviewing, but like it's getting really frustrating to see like all this like gassing you up and then just kidding. You'll hear like things like, oh, the job's on hold and stuff like that. And it's like, we just talked about it. We just talked about it yesterday. It's like, it's already on hold.
Got it. Well, it does sound really frustrating.
Yeah.
And, as we're in a transitional time into using technology in a different way, and that it is really transactional and impersonal.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, there's no longer handshakes or, and like smiles, look me directly in the eye and say, how's you doing? Like, coming to the office on Thursday, because like back then, like you would come into the office on Thursday when they said come into the office. Now it's like come to the office and it's like, oh, things changed. Like, it's like, what? It's so rapid right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, Blake, thank you for sharing. Is there anything that you would want help with to work a strategy of how to, tend to yourself in this process, or
just
stay more motivated?
I guess just roll with the punches. I don't, that's the only thing I could do, is just keep like, okay, next. Don't I can't get myself too worked up about this one opportunity,
No, yeah, that's I'm sorry to jump in, but that's exactly the mindset you have to take nowadays. Is you have to you may be excited, but you have to, especially if you're actively looking, you have to keep going because it's really almost really a numbers game for the most part. I mean, when you're maybe at your level with the point, you might be more networking, but it's a lot of number games where, you may have this one opportunity you really like, but you got to keep going and look at two other three. So that way you at least have some leverage to work with, whatever leverage that you gain. But yeah, it can be very demoralizing. And you have to roll with the punches and
Yeah, I just want to go to work. I just want to go to work. That's all.
yeah,
Blake, one person who, so we had Drew Allison on for 2 months in a row as he was, his position was eliminated. And so he was in a job search, and what you're sharing here about how much rejection is happening, even if it's not, from a human. One of the things that he was sharing was how important it was for him to make contact with people through the process, because he would literally get over 50 rejections, even if it wasn't an email or a message saying, you're not you're not getting a call back or whatever, but he would do a lot of reach out and just never hear back. And so one of the things he identified for himself was that since he's not going into the office and he's not getting any of that kind of direct feedback where he can sort of assess what's going on, and there's sort of a big unknown there, was that he was having to fill it in more with contact with, friends, colleagues, etc., just to kind of tend to that space that has really changed in the past few years, and especially after a pandemic. How does something like that sound for you?
Friends, not so much, because I don't know, most of my friends don't work in my industry, but colleagues, they're all sort of, they themselves are struggling in a sense. Like I've seen companies go, almost bankrupt, near bankruptcy. So a lot of the colleagues they themselves are in the same boat. So like, they're not like, like, here, come join us. Like, they're trying to keep their head above water themselves. So it's kind of like each man to themselves in this industry right now. But I'm not saying it's a slow industry. Digital is moving really fast. It's just, with offshoring things to India, Americans are much more expensive than Indian colleagues, and so I think what Eric was saying, it's really just a numbers game. Like, if you keep throwing the hook out, keep casting it out there. Yeah.
And you might, so there was a study on burnout. And in this study, they looked at a lot of things. And one thing that I found incredibly interesting and insightful was at hospitals, they kind of assumed that it would be the doctors who have a lot of responsibility, who can get sued, who have to see a lot of people, manage a lot of things. They figured, it's going to be the doctors likely that experience the most burnout, because there are doctors that have that. But what the study showed actually was that it was the X-ray technicians, and that was a real surprise. They're like, oh my goodness, why are the X-ray technicians experiencing the most trauma, and they were having symptoms of PTSD symptoms. And what they found was that it's the fact that they are unable to see them making a difference. So the doctors, it's stressful, but they get to see the successes. For an X-ray technician, all it is just broken bone, broken bone, broken bone, broken bone. And that's all that they're seeing and experiencing. So they're not able to see that they really have any value or input in ways. And so that's what leads to burnout. And so as you're sharing about this, less personal kind of interaction where it's fast, you got to move quickly, but you're not able to see results. I was just thinking of that that story from that study.
Mhm. Yeah, I reached out to, I used to work for a GoGo in-flight internet company in the West Loop. It's now Intelsat. They went bankrupt actually during the pandemic. And what was I going to say? I actually completely lost my train of thought. Sorry. Yeah.
All good.
Yeah.
So, well, Blake, thank you for joining in and sharing this struggle. I'm sure a lot of people listening in are relating. And so if anybody, any suggestions, any things like that, you can also type into, if you're not able to jump in directly here on Zoom, you can type in resources and things that might help into the comment section on LinkedIn or on YouTube if you're on YouTube. So appreciate you sharing, Blake. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I'm going to do a quick room reset for anybody joining in. This is Career Lab Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we're here noon to 1 p.m. Central Time. I will tend to have an emotional intelligence spin on whatever we're talking about in your career. I look at career as opposed to trying to do the right thing, and instead of looking at here's all the expertise I have and trying to sell myself to people, I'm looking at positions that are how is this company, this job going to help me develop, and we see all kinds of ways that plays out well for people to hold that as their purpose in their career, is to learn, grow, develop themselves, as opposed to I'm just going to do the thing that gets me a paycheck, and is more transactional. So that's kind of the framework. A lot of times, whether it's in interviews, in resume, or in managing a team or communicating to your team, or to your boss or to the C-suite, what really makes a difference is our emotional intelligence, is our awareness. There's an article that somebody who was hiring at Google for years posted that she, after lots of interviews, what she looked for was, how aware is this person that I'm talking to? Things are changing very quickly. So a lot of times companies may not even be 100% sure what they're actually hiring for. They know they need help, but they might not have it all figured out. So when they're talking to somebody, when they can see that, okay, this person takes initiative and is able to communicate effectively with other people, those two things right there are super important. And so that's the heart of what I will often get into with people in here. But I also say that and say, jump in with any questions that you have on your resume, interview, whatever. If I'm not the best resource, a lot of times people on here are, or we can help you connect with somebody who is. So all that being said, there's a few ways to engage. I love it when you jump in here on Zoom. I can work with you directly. If you can't, type your questions into the comment section on YouTube and on LinkedIn Live. But we've got some more questions coming in here, and I am seeing Lovis. And Lucky, I'm remembering your question too, but I want to make sure we talk to Lovis here. Lovis, great to see you. You're looking good. It looks like you are going to job fair like you put in there. Eric, great. You did get an interview with the hiring manager. Awesome. Eric, look forward to hearing about that next week. But Lovis, so you're going to a job fair. It's been a while since you've been to one, and you want some advice on how to engage. Say more.
Yes. I have been looking for work myself for a while. LinkedIn and other websites. And so through PMI, Project Management Institute, in this area, they're having a job fair. So I signed up for that to continue to explore options and to finding work. And right now, my desire and focus is toward a project manager role to continue further my career in that direction. It has been a while since I've been to a job fair, and in the past, what I have done was try to get a better idea of who's going to be there. And this time I had issues finding out what kind of companies would be there. So I'm going in more blind than I have previously.
Okay, so is there a way that when is the job fair?
So it's in about 4 hours.
To be there.
I could go back through the website again to see if I find any additional links or information, but I didn't see anything from where I did the sign up or the registration for the fair.
Where's it at?
Amherst.
Okay. Any points of connection, any names or somebody on LinkedIn that you could find that would be associated with the job fair that you could message?
Not off the top of my head, but like
Okay,
I said, I
cool.
could search. Like yesterday, I started doing a search directly for the university to see what they were holding. I didn't see much, but I could dive deeper into it. I didn't have much time.
Then you might do that, but do you have any sense of how many companies are going to be there?
No.
So it might be helpful to get clearer about what you want, what kind of companies you want, so that as soon as you get there, you can do a quick scan and see who you're going to go talk to first, and you could just loop around. I mean, if it's oftentimes
Hey,
things like
George,
that.
does he know who's sponsoring the fair? Because I've done a lot of blind job fairs like that before in my past. If he can find out who's sponsoring the job fair, they most likely will have a link somewhere on their stuff about who's going to be at the job fair.
Yeah, Jan, feel free to talk straight to Lovest. Totally. But Lovest,
Because
Yes.
I've been on the other side as the sponsor. So I know a lot of, especially if it's being held at a university, the university should know exactly who's coming to that job fair. So you might want to reach out to the university and see if you can't find out who the sponsor list is on that job fair, and then do your research from there.
Okay. I could double check that. See, because I do have the where I did the registration from, and see if there's any additional links or information on there. And then like my the additional to what you said was to go directly, see if I could find a connection via the university for the information for sponsors. Thank you.
Cool. So that's one piece. And Janet, hold on, because I'm gonna want you to talk a little bit more. So go ahead, but I'm gonna work with Levis for a second here. But I'm gonna want your insights into this in a little bit. So great. So you might be able to get more information there, and then the strategy and so for everybody listening in, Levis and I have worked together in the past, and so I know some of his training, and if you have questions about some of the things I say, let me know. So Levis, you have gotten feedback in the past that you have very good presence. People feel good being around you. And you're a quiet analyzer, but you're a quiet, caring analyzer. And so when you're going into a space where there's a lot of people, what I would encourage you to do when you're getting in conversations with people is to ask a lot of questions about the company. If you can do research beforehand so that you have a better idea of the questions that you want to ask, but really get in there and make contact with people. Have them, know you, feel what it's like to be talking to you, and just use the social and emotional intelligence training you've gotten to be present with yourself. And I think that's going to go a long way with the conversations you're having. How does that sound?
No, it sounds good to me because I think, well, asking questions is a form to show that not only that I'm interested, but I'm also, like you said, present with them and the other person. And a lot of what I know we talked about in learning is when networking or relating to people, the idea is to get to know them. So I'm trying to get to know who I'm talking to, their role in the company, and to get a better idea of the company and how I fit within it. So,
Yep.
yes.
Okay, cool. Getting to know the needs. Why are they there? They're at a job fair. They need something. How would you fit into that? Is it something you want to fit into? You are going to be interviewing them. This is your first round of interviews is happening this evening. And you are the one interviewing them. What are the primary feelings that you're feeling as you're preparing and going in there?
Well, one is fear. So I'm challenging my mistaken belief that I'm not enough. So I keep wanting to, I'm afraid that whatever I say or however I present myself, qualifications, anything like that, isn't what they're looking for. And I will be rejected based off of that.
Okay. Are you open to some coaching?
Yes.
So that may be the case. There may be some qualifications that they need that you don't have. But is that really about who you are as a person?
No.
So then can you have it be is as you distinguish those two and say, yeah, I may want the job, but I don't have the qualifications for it. And that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It just means I don't have the qualifications. From that position, then, would you be able to take the conversation further with them and ask more about, the qualifications needed, what the process is for that? Is that something that, if you're the person for the job and it takes, I don't know, 3 months or whatever to get the next qualification, if that's something that would be, workable with them, would you be able to do that then?
Yes. Yeah, I have actually thought about that because like some companies like via LinkedIn, like sending resumes or applications through there, I'll see like, wow, this look great. And I think I would be a good fit, but I don't have that one thing. And so I still applied, then I immediately try to look up what do I need to do to get that thing if, if it were a chance to move further with the company.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. So you're in the habit of doing it. Now you get to do that with people. And the thing here about what's so powerful about actually talking to somebody, like what Blake was sharing about how much it sucks to not actually talk to people, is that we communicate an immense amount of information. A little less over Zoom, but a whole lot in person that you won't get over LinkedIn messaging. And so if you're having a conversation with them and they like you and they're like, oh yeah, you know what? Like a lot of things about Lovist here we are interested in, doesn't have this qualification, but yeah, you could do that. And you start asking those questions, now you have somebody who would vie for you. You know, somebody who that's your foot in the door there. And so you're showing interest about you to get there. And there's an emotional connection happening that there wouldn't have been before. And so going to a job fair, I mean, I think is huge, because you have the opportunity to have an emotional connection that you wouldn't have otherwise. And then you can ask them too, like if it's really seeming like it's not the best fit for you, you can ask them, okay, any suggestions for me? And my hunch too is that, and this is why I want Janet to share a little bit, is because I bet the people who are hosting at the job fair are probably people who really like helping other people. So they've put themselves in that environment because it's a gift of theirs to help people. And so you're walking into an environment where there might be a lot of people that could support you and you know, give you useful information and direction.
That makes sense.
Another thing is you said about the fear. And now I want, part of how this works, everybody listening in, is that I want you to be applying what we're working on here to your life, even if you're not in the same position that Lovist is about ready to go to a job fair. Certainly everybody can relate to feeling afraid of something, or feeling, if saying afraid seems too strong of a word, concerned or anxiety about something. So how we befriend our anxiety in a way that we can use it to make deeper contact and get valuable information is a wonderful question to be in. So, Lovis, you're walking in, you've got the fear that you're not enough. You've got that anxiety. Now, instead of having that anxiety run you and keep you from having conversations with people and kind of standing back, how would you use that anxiety as a driving force to have you, you know, finding out the things that you need to find out? How could that anxiety actually serve you instead of having you go to fight, flight, or freeze?
Well, I guess I thought of a couple things. Well, one is my first thought was connecting to aliveness. So connecting the fear, anxiety with the joy of like opportunity or achievement. And then what I usually do to feel more present and with myself and comfortable is to dance. So that's to get more into my body. So then my thought was anxious anxiety, to take a moment and then maybe put on the song or just have one rolling in my head and do some movements to feel present.
That's great. I think about doing it and haven't, but maybe with your experience, I'll do it more often before I'm going to go meet a stranger.
Great idea.
Oh, this is great. Lovis, I think that's a really good approach. I want to break it down a little bit for everybody listening in. So Lovis mentioned the fear, and then he mentioned aliveness. And I thought that was brilliant because I was already jumping to solutions. But Lovis, you brought it more into your body, and you reminded me that fear and excitement are experienced the same way in the body. And so you're choosing to have that the fear turn into aliveness, which is a energetic thing, a motivator, is you're turning that into engagement with others. And so, and then you also talked about dancing. And I think that's brilliant. There's the book, How the Body Knows Its Mind, is there. Our body informs how our brain operates. She tells the story of when she was interviewing that she was so happy that she decided to go for a jog in a forest before she went into an interview. She was like, do I really have the time for this? Shouldn't I study a little bit more? But what her research has shown is that just that process of running through a forest where there's roots and things, and you have to be aware of your environment, that her brain light up in all kinds of ways and being aware of more possibilities. Whereas if she had just looked at a book or at a paper and gone through that it would have been a very narrow kind of understanding and would have had her being, what's the word, kind of myopic in the interview. And so, Lovis, I love it because as you're looking at your body and feeling the movement, feeling the aliveness, enjoying the aliveness, then as you're going in, that's going to have your brain more alert, more aware of possibilities, more oxygen flowing through your brain. So I think that's brilliant. So thank you for sharing that. And I hope that everybody else can relate to that and see a way that you can apply that to your life, to something that you have coming up.
Thank you.
Lovis, that is fantastic. Janet, before we let Lovis go, you'd mentioned that you've been at job fairs before, that you've hosted. Are you able to jump on and give us a little bit here? Okay, oh, she's working on coming off mute. Okay, well, Janet, when you're able to, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, so that's too bad. Perhaps the two of you can connect offline, and that might be a way for you to get some more support there, Lovest. Janet's a wealth of information and resources, so okay. Well, Janet, if you're able to, great. If not, maybe the two.
There, I finally got unmuted.
Oh, okay, great.
Now you guys can't see me, but
Oh, we got you.
Too.
Any advice, support that you can offer, Lovest?
breathe, because I'm going to tell you right now, even when you've done all the research, because I've been the hiring manager at several job fairs. You need to breathe. What you're talking to these people in like a 15-second interview. So you want to bring the best of what you can. And I've also been where you're at, the person that has gone from booth to booth to booth to booth to booth, because I'm hunting that job at that time. And one of the best, believe it or not, the best career advices I got from a veteran at the state job at the welfare office, at the unemployment office here, is breathe. Don't go in looking like a sloppy person, because believe it or not, looks do count at job fairs. And even if you don't know everything they're asking for at that time, let them know you're willing to learn it. Because if you're not able or wanting or willing to learn anything, I'm not going to waste my time calling you back.
Makes sense.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because I screened 150 applicants from a 4-hour job fair one day. And I may be left there with 10 people I wanted to talk to further.
Whoa. Okay. Oh, cool. So that, okay, and perfect. And love is just that right there. I mean, you're already dressed up, but that smile, the warmth that you have, I'm imagining that would be somebody that would
Love
register.
is the way he's at right now. I would spend an extra 10, 15, 20 seconds talking to him.
Okay. Any way he could get up to a minute.
Yeah.
How
He
would
can
that?
get up to a minute, being somewhat knowledgeable, because a lot of job fairs, you're not going to know what the person's actually looking for until you get in there. You'll know what companies are hiring, but you won't know what they're but you won't know what they're exactly hiring for. And most of the suites, the project management stuff, you're going to want to talk to that HR person, because that's not something they're going to actually have sitting on their sign or post. Because some of them, like I did, I had a list of all the positions I was applying for, but the ones I left off were sales and marketing. Because if I need a sales and marketing person, I want that person to ask me.
Okay.
And then once that person asks me, I'm going to say, yes, but sell yourself to me. You have a minute to sell yourself to me.
And would you actually say that, Janet?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I needed admin, sales, and marketing, but I did not put them on the board because I also needed factory people worse. But the admin is a different set of criteria.
Okay.
The factory person, because not only did they have to get through me, they had to get through the owner. And if they couldn't make it through me, there was no way they were making it through the owner.
Cool.
I know my HR job. Even though I do accounting for a living now, I know my HR job.
Well,
Good
thank
advice,
you,
Janet.
Janet. Lovis, is there any more questions that you have for Janet?
No, I appreciate all your feedback, Janet, and a lot, some more things to do to prepare and to think about. So thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you,
And
George.
always take more copies of your resume than what you think you're going to need.
And bring along some business cards as well.
Yes.
Cool. What do you recommend about LinkedIn follow-up, Janet? Is that something, if Lovist is also gathering people there and connecting with them on LinkedIn afterwards?
I've had problems on my personal end with LinkedIn follow-up because sometimes the people take forever and a day to get back to me. I've followed up, and then it's like several months after I've heard. But if you're getting replies back, then definitely continue. As a matter of fact, I actually just sent out, I'm trying to get back in my premium because one of the companies I work with is actually looking for somebody in my position in their company out of San Diego, and is following me on LinkedIn. That's the best part, is when you want a vice president of a company following you on their LinkedIn.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. Janet, thank you so much for that. That's wonderful. We've got just a few minutes left. And Janet, I don't know if we got to any of your concerns or supporting you, but I wanted to
I was just here to hear what's going on today.
love it.
A gift. I was here to be a gift today.
Ah, Janet, thank you so much. I love that. You are totally a gift. And what great timing to support Lovis today as well.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Well, Lucky, we've
Lovis,
got a few minutes left. Is
you're
there
awesome.
You had mentioned, Lucky, that you're wanting support in your business.
Well, I get that I get a lot of that support by listening to you guys. There's so many similarities between getting a job and getting literally a job or a sale.
Mhm.
So that I've gotten. So I think that I'll go back to the two things. One, the hardest thing, what I'm working on constantly is trying to find a hook, a way to get them either to remember or to call me back, or
Who's
to
them?
remember an excuse to call them again.
Who's
Uh,
them?
Anybody I meet who I think might be a candidate for what I'm doing.
So, and that's the hyperbaric chamber.
Right.
And the thing is that they would need to. Are you at the point where you're connecting with businesses where you might be able to set it up at their business?
Yes, that's what I think. That's what I'm going for.
Well, the thing that would work for me, Lucky, is if I get to try it. So if I had a small business and a location, and obviously I'm interested in this stuff if I'm going to have the kind of health and wellness business. If you came by and said, "Hey, I'm doing this thing, would you be interested?" I'd love for you to just experience, the differences that it's made, and we could look at if you'd be interested in having more of that. And then if you came by my business and set it up and ran it with me, that would be great, because you just made you brought a service to me. So if there's some way that you can say that and set it up for a follow-up, like, hey, great, I'm going to circle back with you or confirm this time, next week, that I will come by and it's a good time for you, like right as your business closes or whatever. How does that sound, Lucky?
You're hired.
Okay. Well, go get them. Good. I think that's it. That would be my biggest reason I wouldn't do anything, would just be the time commitment of going to a different location. But
Yeah.
if you're coming to me and you're saying, here, try this thing out, I would love for you to have the experience. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say no to.
Yeah, and and that's true, and that's exactly what the plan is. The other thing that I just wanted that both fits what I want and in a way what some of you guys are talking about presenting yourselves. Uh, Judith says in one of the four loving truths is, she quotes somebody and saying that how you love yourself is how people will love you. So how you feel about yourself in the moment and the goodness you bring to your work is how people at some level will pick up on you. So it's important to keep that balance in mind, I think.
Lucky, I think we all need to follow Love's lead and dance, get in our bodies a bit, feel better about myself, not just a thought that I'm trying to convince myself that I feel better, but actually engage and feel my aliveness, and consider that that's self-love, and that people will respond to me in a way that I enjoy more. So I think we should join Lovest in that. Lucky, let us know how that goes.
Okay, I will.
Well, fantastic. Everybody, we are coming up at the end of the hour. Thank you so much. This is wonderful stuff. Really appreciate the vulnerability, you sharing about yourself and your journey. Really appreciate your knowledge and expertise, Janet, and looking forward to hearing how the job fair goes and some of these interviews that people are getting as well. And we will see you next week, Wednesday, noon to 1 Central Time every week. I'm here with you in Career Lab Wednesday.
Hey, Lovis, I'm on LinkedIn. Try to find me. If not, George will tell you how to find me. So I want to know how your job fair goes.
You got it. All right, everybody. Thank you, Jan.